And so if you are wondering why the audio isn't synced up with the video, it is because I messed up the recording and now I have to voice over from home. But the plan is to kind of take it as a technique review and talk about why I'm doing each kind of thing. So first up we had tempo squats, just progressing from last week. Two priorities with these tempo squats, or the two main reasons I'm running tempo squats, is because I'm coming out of wraps. My last two meets were in wraps, and well, in between that I did a multiply competition, but we won't worry about that one. And I haven't trained raw squats for a long time. So that bottom end strength needs to be brought up if I'm going to compete in sleeves in December. The other thing is I arguably have not been squatting that deep and may have gotten a little bit lucky at my competition. But God knows that I will not be flying all the way to Florida in December to squat high, because the standards over there will probably be a little bit tougher. And I want to make sure I go over there and I put on a good show and I'm meeting the standard that everybody should do under squats. So using a tempo safety bar squat for this is hitting both of those targets. So I'm getting used to that bottom end position in terms of like strength. I'm not rushing into it at all. I'm not loading up to anything super heavy coming out of a meet, but I'm also making sure I am sinking them, so I'm definitely getting to depth on each one. And when I do my high bar squats on Friday, I should do a little bit better of a job compared to last week and get a little bit deeper on the pauses, because I'm well capable of doing it. I just have to dial that in. But I do think I did okay. This was the same weight as I did last week for my working sets. I did 3 sets of 5 last week, and while they didn't feel heavy, they definitely felt like they were effort. And I wasn't that committed to training. It was the first week back into real training. We messed around a little bit, but nothing heavy, or nothing I would consider real training or work. But considering how much easier they were this week, body is still strong, just needs to get used to it, and we took a plate jump. And I was really hoping it wouldn't feel too bad, and thankfully it was okay. I didn't notice that it was much heavier. I could definitely feel the weight difference, but nothing too concerning. It didn't actually feel much harder because I feel I had a bit more conditioning and I was a bit more used to kind of training at this point. One thing I did really want to focus on was keeping my hips under, so using my glutes to keep the pelvis push forward into the knees. So you're using your glutes to control the pelvis, which will push it into the knees, and you'll be able to utilize your quads more. With that, if I wasn't driving my chin back really hard, I would start to see this kind of crumple on my upper back. But I knew that going into it. I knew that last week I could have kind of done a better job of keeping my chin driven back to create that T-spine extension and keeping my glutes under, and I did okay at both of those. So I was actually pretty happy with these squats. In the comments, if you ever see anything wrong with my technique, let me know. I want to know. I would be very happy to hear your thoughts. Then went for my second set. So plan last week was 3 sets of 5 with 2 plates. This week we went 2 sets of 4 with 3 plates, and I'm hoping then next week we should be able to load up just 4 plates for a set of 3 or 4, depending how difficult it ends up being. I don't want to push it too hard, kind of in terms of both loading and just like effort just yet on the main stuff, because I really want to leave a little bit in the tank after the main work so that I can go into the accessories and start to really load them up. Because priority for now is building on those kind of weak points, building on kind of the smaller movements, so that when it comes to meet prep, I'll be able to push the heavier stuff, because everything structurally in my body will be prepared for that. And what happens with a lot of people is they push that main movement really hard, then they've got nothing left to give for the accessories, and then it comes to meet prep and they don't have any volume to pull back because they had already kind of pulled all the volume back after going too hard on the main stuff. And then we had Dan in here pulling off some mats, and in her meet and in a few of the recent sessions, she's felt that she has been coming up onto her heels with her toes lifting at the top of the reps. So we just talked to her about the importance of toe pressure and how she should really just think about setting up, going down, keeping toe pressure the whole time, and then as she starts to come back up, keep that toe pressure on. And what that's allowing her to do is stay in her quads for a little bit longer. So at the meet, her legs straighten a little bit early, put her back into a slightly rounded position, and then she just couldn't overcome that rounding and didn't have great foot pressure on the feet, and the feet kind of lifted, and she just got it through, but there was a bit of a downward movement. But these looked way better once she kept her toes driven down, stayed in the quads, and staying in the quads will allow her to keep her back more neutral, so when she gets up towards lockout, she doesn't have to unround her back and kind of go off balance. She can just drive those hips forward, which is kind of what I'm doing here. I'm trying to keep my hips forward like I talked about. That's going to push my pelvis forward, which is going to put more workload on the knees, allowing me to use the quads a lot more. And these are kind of Tom Platz style squats, and if you don't know who Tom Platz is, go check out some of his old training videos on YouTube. He is fun to watch. But the purpose of these is to train that really deep knee flexion position and build quads while you're at it. But don't rush into these. If you haven't done anything like this and you want to try that kind of deep kind of flexion or any extreme range of motion training, just take your time, use it, like implement it at the end of a session possibly with really light weights, and just get a pump. And then as you feel more capable of doing more weight, move it up in priority and where your session is until eventually you feel like you can actually load these pretty heavy. But don't start too heavy because you do not want to see your kneecaps exploding. But here I could tell I was rushing these a little bit. And I know for sure I was, because this morning I woke up and my knees felt a little bit stiff. Did some movement around today, some squats and some front foot elevated split squats to really get them moving again, and I feel perfectly fine now. But I know I probably just rushed them a little too much because of how they felt today, because up until this everything has felt pretty good in terms of like joints. But yeah, wasn't too annoyed at those. I would like to eventually push these to like 4 plates, which would be pretty cool, because my best on our hack squat, the Elite FTS hack squat, which is incredibly heavy, is 6. I don't think I've done 7. I can't remember. I've written that somewhere, but I've done 6 or 7 plates for 2 sets of 11 and 12 reps, which works really well for my squat for sure. I know once I can push these hack squats pretty heavy, I'll be on board for kind of bigger squat PRs if I keep my skill stuff involved. And that's pretty much everything I got here, because I know we're going into the chest supported rows now and the audio is going to come back, so you'll have to listen to me in person. And I am not a very happy camper, because I just realised that while the mic was picking up audio, it wasn't actually plugged fully into the camera. So I am very likely going to have to do a voiceover for the whole start of that session, unless I can pick up some of the audio from the in-camera mic. If you watched any of the vlogs last week, you probably realised that I am a fan of straps for the back work, because I don't want my grip to be the limiting factor. And I hear a lot of people saying like the grip isn't the limiting factor, but just try straps. Like, give them a go and see if you can connect to your back more. This machine is heavy. We're both like lucky and unfortunate at Bointside where we have like really great equipment, but it's all just so much heavier than you get at a regular commercial gym. So it kind of humbles you very quickly. And if you remember last week, we talked about trying to get some more lat tension by doing a bit of a straight arm pull down kind of movement as we row. And then we're gonna reach that chest up at the top, flex the upper back at the bottom, trying to get a little bit more T-spine extension strength as we do it, while getting the lats involved. Oh God. I don't think I'm going to push them much heavier next week. I might aim just to get more reps because I'm starting to lose that kind of mind-muscle connection with them, and if I'm not getting that this early on in the year, I don't think there's much point in pushing it much heavier. And Connor is kind of embarrassing me here, so maybe we should go up next week. If you watched last week's vlog, we set up this contraption to mimic a kind of plate-loaded back extension so that we can get kind of an easier hold onto the weight and start to progressively overload it a little bit better. And the focus on this is a big glute squeeze, so we mightn't see the biggest range of motion coming up to the top. We're just going to keep everything tucked down and squeeze the glutes into the pad. Okay, good. Low back didn't seem to kick in too much, all glutes, so I'm happy. Good. Glutes are pumpy. And after the microphone disaster earlier, I also realized I haven't been adjusting the ISO on the camera, so how much light is getting in. So the coloring on everything might also look pretty bad. So we have not done well in terms of the camera stuff this vlog, but I think training's going okay, which is probably more important for me. Might need new pads on this. And if you're wondering how I kind of progress weight for myself and for a lot of my in-person athletes who are on the group program, we normally kind of give a rep range target, which might be on leg extension 10 to 20. And on week one, I'll tell them aim for that 20 rep range, so a weight that they think they can do for 20 reps. If they go a little bit below or a little bit above, I don't care. Then the next week, they just have to load it heavier. Because what a lot of bodybuilders will do, a lot of powerlifters will do, is like, they'll go, okay, I did 15 reps last week, I gotta do 16 next week. And there comes a point where, like, if you had a bad night's sleep or something went on at home or whatever, and you're a little bit more stressed, you mightn't get that progress. And that's really hard, you know, and mentally it's like, oh, am I going backwards each week? But if you just like add weight, and then you push it to the same level of RPE, so in this, if you push to failure, the same as last week, but just with a heavier weight, that is progressive overload, and you're doing more work. Now, we get to a point where we hit the bottom end range, like 10 reps, I'm probably telling the guys, okay, let's strip back to the weight we had on week one and beat the rep range that we did on that first week, something like that. And that allows you to kind of auto-regulate your training while still training really hard and not getting messed up mentally for not hitting the same or more number of reps as the previous week. Okay. And last week we finished up our leg extensions with some Myo reps, so we'll do a regular set here. And then at the end I'll take 5 breaths, pump out as many reps as I can, 5 breaths, as many reps as I can. And if in one of those Myo rep sets I can't hit 5 good quality reps, we'll call it there. Okay, let's get into it. This is the fun bit. Oh, we're not getting too many sets today. Whoa, the burn. Oh, fuck. Oh, cramps. Fuck. Oh, fuck. And I don't know if it's a sign of training too hard or so that dehydration, but I can't stand up straight or my legs are going to cramp again. So we're just going to kneel down for a little bit. Oh, cramps are coming in already. I'm going to just waddle to the camera and switch things off. So I found out that while I can stand up straight without them cramping, I can't really walk. So we're going to make our way over to the GHR and see if we can do some sit-ups. Right, get out. And if you were here last week, I only managed 2 sets of sit-ups, sorry, 1 set of sit-ups and 1 rep before my abs started cramping too bad to do another. So I'm hoping that with all the hydration I've been doing, I'll be able to get 2 full sets this week, and that will be progress. But I'm more worried about my quads in this straightened position than anything. Okay, I think we should be good. We're gonna do 1 more set. If we can do more than 1 rep, progress. I don't think we're gonna cramp up. I will get a fright if we do. And we have made progress.
Oh, God. Okay, no cramps, successful. Seems like the only crampy kind of movement so far today was the leg extension, so that is definitely progress after last week. If you weren't here last week, the plan for grip training for the next little while is just to run 2 sets at the end of each lower day. Today we're going to do some barbell finger rolls. Fridays after deadlifts we're going to do some dead hangs. Okay, that seems much tougher than last week. Last set before we clock out. Same idea as last week, we're not going to push it so intensely that grip is fried for the next couple of sessions. But we still got to work. Okay, not a bad session. Okay, so session 1 of week 2 done. Other than all the mishaps with the camera stuff and the microphone, I don't think it was too bad. Mess up the lighting a little bit, mess up the audio a little bit, but we should be fine. Hopefully the voiceover at the start of this isn't too bad and too annoying to listen to. But I think we did okay. Feeling a little bit going into the session, but if we can make those sessions go well through just going 1 rep at a time, seeing how well of a job you can do on each rep, you'll have a good day. And I do think if you can just put the intent into every single rep you do, you'll get there. You know, things will be okay. On the main stuff, on the heavy things that I'm not trying to go to failure, if I can just keep the intent where I want it and make sure I work hard without loading heavy, because heavy isn't always productive. Me and Seth just talked about this earlier, where people equate that like heavy weight on the bar to mean we're making progress, and it's not always the case, because if that heavy weight on the bar means you're too fatigued throughout the rest of the session to push those accessories, especially in an off season, if it means that, you know, for the rest of the week you can't do a bodyweight squat because your knee or your hip or your back hurts, it's no longer productive. So realizing that heavy is not always the same as productive. Figure out where you can push, like the leg extensions. I have to go to failure there because otherwise they're not productive. If on the main movement I'm going so heavy that I can't hold my position and back starts to crumble, knees start to cave, all of this stuff, I'm just ingraining a worse pattern. Like, it won't transfer over well to my main squat work. So I really need to be smart about pushing the easier stuff, and easier by simpler, more stable exercises like the leg extension, and then being smarter about using the right intent and not overshooting that main work. And if you can figure that stuff out, and then you can go home and eat and sleep well, you're going to do pretty well. So if you want any help for figuring that stuff out, hop in a team activated, the group, or you can come down to Boyneside or shoot me a DM and we can talk about one-to-one coaching.